my YouTube viewers. In this particular video, what we're going to be talking about is the measure of dispersion, or the measure of spread, or the measure of variance. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to talk about what variance is. So variance is a statistical measure that represents the expected value of the squared deviation from the mean of a random variable. So that's telling you what variance is. And variance is one of the measures of dispersion. The two main measures that are part of variance are the variance and the standard deviation. And the standard deviation is the square root of variance. So I've got my data here. I've got my simulated data. And so we've already talked about mean in the previous video. So the mean is the average, and that's normally what you're going to be dealing with, is the mean. And then the mean absolute deviation is just another metric that they use. So it's going to be the absolute value of the A2, that's your random number, minus D2, which is the mean. And then so you take the absolute value of A2 minus D2, and you put that in, copy that down to all 100 values. And then what you do is you get the mean of the absolute deviation. And then this is your mean of your absolute deviation. So you've got your mean, and then you've got your mean absolute deviation, which is 25. And then we've got the variance. And so now what we've got is a variance of a sample. So with Excel, you just say var.s A2 to A101. And then, so that'll give you your variance of your sample. If you want the variance of a population, it would be var.p, and I do believe there is actually just a var as well, but I did var sample. And so the formula for the variance of a sample is a little bit different to the formula of a variance of a population, but we're just going to be using variance of a sample in this instance. And I do believe that there is just a bog standard variance if you want to use that. So now we do the standard deviation. Standard deviation is the square root of the variance. And so at this point, we're using the standard deviation of the sample. And then so you can see I just did the square root of the variance is the same as the standard deviation for the variance, just to prove that the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. We also have something that we're going to cover later, is the percentile. There is a percentile function in Excel, and so basically in this particular instance, we're doing this percentile of the range, and we're going to be looking for a 66%, and the percentile at 66% is 65, and then we count the number of elements, so you count A1 to A101. Excuse me, I've had problems with my throat lately. So we've got the formula for this population variance and the sample variance, and you've got your formula for your standard deviation, but standard deviation is the square root of the variance. You've got the formula for the mean absolute deviation, and then you've got the formula for the percentile. So the percentile is the percentile divided by 100 times n plus 1. I did actually make a few diagrams, charts, and the reason why you make charts is because it adds a lot of value to a presentation. If you can add a chart to a presentation, it'll add a lot more meaning to it, because a lot of people are not technically minded. So whereas they might not understand a lot of figures, they can understand a diagram. So we've got the histogram, which is what we made in a few previous videos, and we've made another histogram, and we've got the box and whisker. And so you can see in this instance, 0 is your bottom whisker and 100 is your top whisker. And Q2 to Q3, and I think it's Q2 is your median. And so the line here in the middle, that's your medium or your IQR2. So I've got another note on my spreadsheet saying the measure of dispersion indicates how spread out the data points are, which is crucial for assessing the model performance and consistency. So these are just some of the measures of dispersion, mainly being the variance and the standard deviation. So that concludes this particular video. The next video, we're going to be talking about the interquartile range, which is another measure of descriptive statistics. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that you watch the next one as well.